But, folks, it looks like we have a big victory. Now, look, we've got to take whatever we get when it comes. The Democratic-controlled Senate Finance Committee has just confirmed that the existence of the so-called death panel provision. And we were one of the first to point this out to you by actually taking the time to read the bill. On page 425 to 430, that is that provision that was in the House version. They're taking steps to remove it from the final version. Well, first of all, how can you remove something from a bill that they said never existed in the first place? Well, obviously, this is an admission that, yes, we were right and they were wrong. The media has been insisting all week that this whole notion of death panels is nothing but an ugly right-wing rumor. Even some Republicans were out there saying, oh, Governor Palin's off the deep end on this, when she spotlighted this issue on her Facebook blog last Saturday. She was right. The New York Times has gone into overdrive today trying to debunk the so-called death panel rumor, and a front-page story dissecting how news of the death panels first came to light. Well, it's in the bill. Now, they blame those ugly rumors over at the Washington Times, along with well-known conspiracy theorist Betsy McCoy. Now, we had Betsy McCoy on our special health care special on TV. We've had her on this program. It was her rumor mongering back in '94 that single-handedly defeated the Clintons' attempt to hijack the health care system then. Well, the point is, if the whole death panel issue was nothing but a rumor, then why did the Democrat-controlled Senate Finance Committee now take steps to remove that language that they now admit suggests that the government would have the power to pull the plug on grandma? Now, check out the headline in today's L.A. Times. It's Senate Committee scraps health care provision that gave rise to, quote, death panel claims. A Senate panel has decided to scrap the part of its health care bill that in recent days has given rise to fears of government death panels, with one lawmaker suggesting that the proposal was too confusing. Senate Finance Committee is taking the idea of advanced care planning consultations with doctors off the table as it works to craft its version of health care legislation. Folks, this is only one. This is a big part, one of the many flaws in this bill, but they denied it even existed. Charles Grassley, who's a ranking member on the committee, said the panel dropped the idea because it could be misinterpreted or implemented incorrectly. Yeah, no kidding. Now the L.A. Times is kind of soft-pedaling Grassley's position here. But if you remember, we were one of the first broadcast outlets to report that Grassley had declared that people were right to be concerned about Obamacare and how it might lead to pulling the plug on grandma. Now, the L.A. Times goes on, for Democrats, the decision was an apparent acknowledgement that the provision had become a lightning rod for critics of a proposed overhaul of the U.S. healthcare system. Recently, former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin speculated that Obama and other Democrats wanted to set up death panels to decide who gets medical services and who does not. By the way, you know, for all this talk about Governor Palin, and remember she said she'd be far more effective outside of the governor's mansion. Well, score one for Governor Palin on this one. In reality, it goes on and explains blah, 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 blah. And they say, oh, it was widely discredited. The Palin claim was widely discredited that the White House had begun openly quoting it in an effort to show the opponents of health care and how misinformed they are. Well, if it was so widely discredited, then why would the Senate take it out of their bill? They couldn't get it out fast enough. And as for the White House, Robert Gibbs keeps talking about Obamacare death panels. Maybe he can explain why Obama himself told that lady in June that maybe her elderly mother would have been better off taking a pain pill than having a life-saving pacemaker installed. And while he's at it, maybe he can explain why Obama has his death panel advocate, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, Ram Rambo Deadfish's brother, as one of his chief Obamacare advisors. Now, we've gone over this in detail. This is a guy who thinks we shouldn't guarantee medical treatment to Alzheimer's patients and other people with incurable diseases. Now, if they want to make this entire healthcare debate about death panels, I say go ahead, make my day. But, folks, this is only the tip of the iceberg. And speaking of Ezekiel Emanuel, this had to be the ultimate humiliation for the Obama administration and the Obama mania thrill up my leg media. Because remember, he's quoted as saying services provided to individuals who are irreversibly prevented from being or becoming participating citizens are not basic and should not be guaranteed. And as an obvious example, not guaranteeing health services to patients with dementia. That's what he said. The complete lies system discriminates against older people, blah, 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 trashing 65-year-olds differently because of stereotypes and falsehoods, treating them differently because they already had more life years, blah, 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 as an imperative to do everything for the patient regardless of cost and effectiveness. He's against it. Well, now he's out there backtracking. And the Washington Times reports, and by the way, which has got to be the ultimate humiliation for Obama, not to mention, his friends in the media. Governor Palin, the person they derided as too stupid to be vice president, has totally outmaneuvered them and has totally forced them to change. The person targeted by Tina Fey, Charlie Gibson, and Katie Couric. Caribou Barbie, the woman who drives Democrats nuts because they're scared to death of her. Well, she's got the Obama administration on the run. And ever since she started this death panel discussion, now they have been on defense and they have had to capitulate. Every liberal editor out there accusing her falsely, by the way, of making this whole thing up. They all now owe her an apology. And the president himself devoted a significant portion of his New Hampshire town hall on this, but it all failed. And it failed miserably. And today, Governor Palin racked up another victory. And she's got a top Obamacare advisor, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, running for the tall grass. In the Washington Times today, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, White House official, targeted by Governor Palin and other conservatives as an advocate for health care rationing and death panels, said yesterday, quote, his thinking has, quote, evolved on the need to decide who gets treated and who does not. Folks, he's basically willing to say anything to get this bill passed. The real Barack Obama is the one that said he supports a single-payer system. The real Barack Obama is the guy that said he wants to eliminate the employer-covered system within 10, 15, or 20 years. It'll be incremental. Ezekiel Emanuel goes on, when I began working in health policy 20 years ago, I thought we would definitely have to ration care, that there was a need to make a decision and deny people care. He went on to say, I think that over the last 5 to 7 years, I've come to the conclusion that in our system, we are spending way more money than we need to, a lot of it on unnecessary care. If we get rid of that care, we would have absolutely no reason to ever consider rationing except in a few cases. Oh, okay. What are those cases? Now, I want to say one thing here. I don't think I've ever seen an individual like Governor Palin who's been so vilified by the liberal media. They just hate her. They attack her. They attack her children. They attack her family. They make fun of her looks. They make sexually demeaning jokes on national TV in an attempt to completely destroy her. And, I don't think I've ever seen someone who's been a target of the full force of all combined liberal establishments and their wrath the way Governor Palin has, and has so completely turned the tables on the attackers in the span of 1 week. I mean, they came after her with everything they had, and she defeated them with a few paragraphs on Facebook. Governor Palin, kudos to you, and thanks for winning one for the good guys. If ever there was someone who deserved congratulations, it's you.